The 7 levels of superweapons in comics. Level 1. The Enhanced Tech Weapon. Iron Man's Armor. The Iron Man armor was created by Tony Stark, a billionaire genius inventor and CEO of Stark Industries, under desperate circumstances. While demonstrating weapons in Afghanistan, Tony was captured by terrorists and suffered severe chest injuries from shrapnel that threatened to reach his heart. Forced to build weapons for his captors, Tony instead created a miniaturized arc reactor to power an electromagnet, keeping the shrapnel from killing him, then used the arc reactor to power a crude suit of armor that allowed him to escape. Upon returning home, Tony refined the design, creating increasingly sophisticated armor suits that combined cutting-edge human technology with his genius-level engineering. The armor's powers include superhuman strength, allowing Tony to lift tanks and fight gods, despite being a normal human inside, flight through repulsor-powered boots reaching speeds exceeding Mach 5, repulsor beams fired from the palms that can blast through steel and concrete, an advanced AI system providing tactical analysis and threat assessment, energy shields deflecting attacks, and a modular design allowing Tony to swap components for a specialized mission. The armor essentially transforms Tony from a vulnerable human into a one-man army capable of standing alongside superhumans. The Iron Man armor has appeared in countless comics since its debut in Tales of Suspense number 39 in 1963, but some storylines showcase the armor's capabilities particularly well. In Armor Wars, Tony discovers that his technology has been stolen and used by various villains, and even some heroes, leading him to hunt down anyone using Stark Tech. In Extremis, Tony integrates the armor with his own biology, storing it in his bones and allowing it to deploy from his body instantly. In Iron Man, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Tony builds the Helicarrier armor, a massive suit designed to battle Ultron by matching his size and power. The Superior Iron Man storyline shows Tony creating an armor using symbiote technology combined with his tech, creating a liquid metal suit that's nearly unstoppable. Each appearance demonstrates how Tony continuously evolves the armor to meet new threats. One of the most iconic uses of the Iron Man armor occurs during the Iron Man number 304 storyline, when Tony builds the Hulkbuster armor to contain an out-of-control Hulk. The Hulkbuster is a massive suit standing over 11 feet tall, with reinforced plating designed to withstand Hulk's punches and hydraulic-enhanced strength that allows Tony to match Hulk blow for blow. The comic shows Tony and Hulk fighting through a city, with Tony's armor absorbing devastating hits that would liquefy a normal human. When parts of the armor are damaged, orbital satellites drop replacement components that attach automatically, allowing Tony to continue fighting even as Hulk destroys sections of the suit. The battle demonstrates that enhanced technology, when designed by a genius with unlimited resources, can allow a normal human to fight the strongest beings on Earth. However, the fight also shows limitations. Despite all the armor's power, Tony is still losing slowly because Hulk's strength keeps increasing with his rage, and the armor's energy reserves are finite. Tony ultimately wins not through overpowering Hulk, but by using specialized equipment and tactics, showing that enhanced tech weapons require intelligence and strategy to be effective rather than just raw firepower. Another memorable moment occurs in Avengers vs. X-Men, when Tony analyzes the Phoenix Force and builds the Phoenix Killer armor, specifically designed to combat the cosmic entity. The armor incorporates Asgardian Uru metal provided by Thor, technology reverse-engineered from Shi'ar Imperial Guard armor, and energy systems calibrated to disrupt the Phoenix Force's frequency. When the Phoenix Force approaches Earth, Tony flies into space wearing this specialized armor and actually manages to fight the cosmic entity. The comic shows Tony firing weapons that temporarily disrupt the Phoenix's form, proving that even cosmic-level threats can be challenged by sufficiently advanced technology. However, Tony's attack backfires catastrophically. Instead of destroying the Phoenix, his weapon fractures it into 5 fragments that possess 5 X-Men, making the situation worse. This demonstrates that enhanced tech weapons, no matter how sophisticated, have limits when facing threats beyond their design parameters, and that technology alone cannot solve every problem even when wielded by someone as brilliant as Tony Stark. Level 2. The Alien Artifacts. Green Lantern Ring. The Green Lantern Rings were created by the Guardians of the Universe, ancient and immensely powerful beings who arose on the planet Oa billions of years ago and became dedicated to bringing order to the cosmos. After their previous police force, the Manhunters, failed catastrophically, the Guardians created the Green Lantern Corps as a better solution. They forged the central power battery on Oa, a massive reservoir of willpower energy, and from it created thousands of power rings, each one a weapon of incredible versatility and power. The rings work by channeling the green light of willpower from the emotional spectrum, allowing their wielders to create solid constructs from pure willpower energy, limited only by imagination and mental discipline. A Green Lantern ring's powers include creating any object the user can imagine, from hard light constructs, flight through space at faster-than-light speeds, energy blasts and shields, translation of all languages, environmental protection allowing survival in space or underwater, scanning and analysis functions, and the ability to find and recruit new wielders when the current lantern dies. The rings are described as the most powerful weapons in the universe, but they require a strong-willed user who can overcome fear, as the rings cannot function when the wielder is terrified. Green Lantern rings have appeared throughout DC Comics history since their debut in Showcase number 22 in 1959 with Hal Jordan, Earth's most famous Green Lantern. Major storylines showcasing the rings include Emerald Twilight, where Hal Jordan's ring is corrupted and used to devastating effect when he becomes Parallax. Sinestro Corps War demonstrates the ring's power when thousands of Green Lanterns battle thousands of yellow ring-wielding Sinestro Corps members in a war spanning multiple sectors of space. Blackest Night shows all rings of the emotional spectrum: green, yellow, red, orange, blue, indigo, and violet in action simultaneously during a crisis where the dead rise as Black Lantern. Green Lantern Rebirth explores how the rings are connected to Parallax, the fear entity that was imprisoned within the central power battery, explaining why the rings historically had a weakness to yellow. One of the most impressive demonstrations of a Green Lantern ring's power occurs when Hal Jordan must stop a planet-destroying missile while in deep space. The comic shows Hal creating a massive construct, a giant energy barrier spanning thousands of miles, to intercept the missile. When the missile explodes against his construct, the blast should vaporize everything in the vicinity, but Hal's willpower-fueled shield absorbs the entire nuclear-level explosion. The strain is visible. Hal is screaming with effort, his entire body glowing green as he channels maximum willpower through the ring to maintain the construct against the blast. The ring's charge depletes rapidly, showing that even alien artifacts have energy limitation when used at maximum capacity. After containing the explosion, Hal collapses from exhaustion, having pushed his willpower to its absolute limit. This feat demonstrates that Green Lantern rings can accomplish seemingly impossible tasks, like containing explosions that should destroy planets, but they require tremendous mental fortitude and willpower reserves from their users, making the weapon only as powerful as the lantern wielding it. Another iconic moment occurs during Blackest Night, when multiple Earth heroes temporarily receive rings to fight the Black Lanterns, zombified heroes. The comic shows various non-lantern heroes suddenly receiving rings that choose them in moments of extreme emotion. Barry Allen receives a Blue Lantern ring representing hope. Wonder Woman briefly wields a Star Sapphire ring representing love. And most surprisingly, Scarecrow receives a Yellow Lantern ring representing fear. Each ring transforms its wielder instantly, granting them the power set associated with that emotional spectrum. The scene demonstrates that Green Lantern rings and their colored equivalents are not just weapons but tools that amplify their wielders' strongest emotions into tangible power. When the Atom receives a Deputy Green Lantern ring and creates constructs at microscopic scale, it shows that the ring's versatility extends to applications their creators might never have imagined. The weapons adapt to their users' unique perspectives and abilities, rather than forcing users to conform to predetermined functions. A third demonstration showcases a ring's power when multiple lanterns combine their constructs. During the battle against Necron in Blackest Night, thousands of Green Lanterns from across the universe link their rings together, pooling their collective willpower into a single massive construct, a battering ram of pure green energy the size of a moon. The combined construct strikes Necron with the willpower of thousands of beings simultaneously, creating an attack far beyond what any individual lantern could generate. However, even this combined assault only temporarily disrupts Necron, demonstrating that alien artifacts like the rings, while incredibly powerful, have limits when facing abstract entities and cosmic forces. The rings are described as the most powerful weapons in the universe for a reason, but most powerful weapon doesn't mean capable of defeating anything, showing that even alien technology operating on principles beyond human understanding has boundaries defined by the fundamental forces opposing them. Level 3. The Mystical Weapons. Stormbreaker was created by the dwarves of Nidavellir, master blacksmiths whose forge harnesses the power of a dying star to craft enchanted weapons for Asgard's greatest warriors. The weapon was originally forged for Beta Ray Bill, an alien warrior who proved worthy to lift Thor's hammer Mjolnir and needed his own weapon of comparable power. King Eitri and the dwarf smiths used Uru metal, the same mystical metal that composes Mjolnir and forged Stormbreaker. as an axe-hammer hybrid containing enchantments similar to Mjolnir but with unique properties. Stormbreaker's powers include summoning lightning and storms of devastating intensity, flight when thrown or held, automatic return to its wielder's hand when called, near indestructibility that allows it to withstand blows from cosmic entities, energy projection, and absorption, and most significantly in some versions, the ability to summon the Bifrost Bridge, allowing its wielder to teleport across cosmic distances. The weapon's worthiness enchantment is less strict than Mjolnir's, meaning powerful beings can wield it even if they wouldn't be considered worthy by Odin's standards, making it a more accessible but equally dangerous mystical weapon. Stormbreaker has appeared in various comics since its creation in Thor number 337 to 340 in 1983, originally as Beta Ray Bill's signature weapon. The weapon appears prominently in storylines featuring Bill, including Stormbreaker: The Saga of Beta Ray Bill, where Bill must prove himself worthy of the weapon and his role as Asgard's ally. In Unworthy Thor storyline, the weapon's significance is explored when Thor Odinson, having lost the ability to wield Mjolnir, contemplates whether he could wield Stormbreaker instead. The weapon gains massive mainstream recognition from Avengers: Infinity War in the MCU, where Thor has Stormbreaker forged to replace the destroyed Mjolnir, creating a version of the weapon with expanded powers including Bifrost summoning. Comics following the film's release incorporated some of these elements, showing how media adaptations can influence source material. One of Stormbreaker's most impressive demonstrations occurs when Beta Ray Bill uses it to fight alongside Thor against a celestial threat attacking Asgard. The comic shows Bill wielding Stormbreaker with the same mastery Thor displays with Mjolnir, summoning lightning storms that devastate enemy forces, and throwing the axe through multiple enemies with enough force to shatter mountains where it lands. What makes this feat particularly notable is that Bill, despite being an alien rather than an Asgardian god, channels power through Stormbreaker equal to Thor's divine might. The weapon doesn't just grant power, it transforms its wielder into a storm itself, their will directing weather phenomena on planetary scales. During this battle, Bill creates a hurricane with Stormbreaker that's visible from space, using the mystical weapon to weaponize an entire planet's atmosphere against the invaders. This demonstrates that mystical weapons forged by cosmic blacksmiths don't just enhance their wielders, but grant them fundamental control over natural forces, elevating mortals and aliens to godlike power level. Another iconic moment occurs when Beta Ray Bill and Thor fight side by side, each wielding their respective weapons. The comic depicts their combined lightning strikes, Thor's golden lightning from Mjolnir and Bill's blue-white lightning from Stormbreaker, converging on a massive enemy. The merged lightning bolt channels enough mystical energy to actually crack a moon, showing that mystical weapons can stack their effects when multiple wielders coordinate. However, the scene also shows the weapon's sentience or semi-awareness. When Thor briefly loses his grip on Mjolnir during the battle, Stormbreaker instinctively moves to block an attack meant for Thor, protecting its wielder's ally without Bill consciously directing it. This suggests that mystical weapons possess some form of intelligence or programming beyond being mere tools, actively participating in combat and protecting those they deem worthy, even without explicit commands. A third demonstration showcases Stormbreaker's durability when Bill uses it to block an attack from the Celestials, godlike cosmic entities that tower over planets. A Celestial's energy blast hits Stormbreaker directly, and the weapon not only withstands the cosmic-level attack, but actually absorbs and redirects the energy back at the attacker. The comic shows Stormbreaker glowing white-hot from absorbing energy meant to atomize planets, then Bill swings the supercharged weapon and releases all that stored power in a single strike. The mystical axe channels more energy than any technological device could contain without melting, demonstrating that weapons forged with magic and divine craftsmanship operate on principles beyond physical materials. However, Bill collapses after this feat, showing that while mystical weapons can channel godlike power, they still require worthy wielders with sufficient strength to endure the forces flowing through the weapon, making Stormbreaker incredibly powerful, but not without cost to those who push it to its limit. Level 4. The Cosmic Artifacts. The Cosmic Cube. The Cosmic Cube, also known as the Tesseract in MCU continuity, is a crystalline matrix that can reshape reality according to the user's desires. The cubes are created by an advanced alien race called the Beyonders, or in some versions, they form naturally from concentrated cosmic energy in Pocket Universe. A cosmic cube's creation involves compressing immense amounts of energy from a pocket universe into a physical matrix that stabilizes and makes the energy controllable. The cube's powers include reality manipulation on planetary to universal scales, depending on the user's will, matter creation, and transmutation, turning thought into physical reality, time manipulation, allowing the user to affect past and future events, dimensional travel and creation of pocket universe, granting superpowers or removing them from others, and most dangerously, the power to make any wish reality with no apparent limit except the wielder's imagination and willpower. Unlike technological weapons that perform specific functions, a cosmic cube is only limited by what its wielder can conceive. It's wish fulfillment on a cosmic scale, making it one of the most dangerous artifacts in Marvel Comics because, in the wrong hands, it can reshape all reality according to one person's desires. The Cosmic Cube has appeared throughout Marvel Comics history, first introduced in Tales of Suspense, number 79 in 1966, and becoming central to numerous major storylines. In Avengers Defenders War, the cube is one of the evil objects sought by Loki and Dormammu. Captain America comics frequently feature Red Skull, using various cosmic cubes to reshape reality according to his Nazi ideology. The storyline Korvac Saga involves a cube's reality warping power. Most significantly, Civil War and subsequent stories show Kobik, a sentient cosmic cube, taking the form of a child, being manipulated to create the Hydra Captain America reality. The cube's appearances consistently establish them as reality warping artifacts whose power depends entirely on who controls them and what they wish to accomplish. One of the most impressive demonstrations of a cosmic cube's power occurs in Captain America, when the Red Skull uses a cube to remake reality according to his fascist worldview. The comic shows reality literally rewriting itself according to Skull's desires. History changes so that Hydra won World War II. Steve Rogers' memories are altered so he believes he's always been a Hydra agent, and the entire geopolitical structure of Earth is transformed. The change isn't illusion or mind control. Reality itself is restructured at fundamental levels so that the new history is real, and the previous reality never existed from everyone's perspective, except those the Skull deliberately allowed to remember. This feat demonstrates that cosmic cubes don't just create convincing simulations, they actually alter reality's fabric, making their effects true in ways that retroactively change past events. When heroes eventually restore reality, they discover that defeating a cube wielder requires not just overcoming the person, but undoing all the reality changes they've implemented, making cosmic cubes threats that persist even after being taken from their youth. Another iconic moment involves Thanos obtaining a cosmic cube and using it to attempt merging with reality itself. The comic depicts Thanos growing to cosmic size, his body beginning to encompass planets as he uses the cube to integrate his consciousness with space-time itself. His plan is to become the universe rather than just ruling it. By merging with reality through the cube's power, he would become an abstract entity whose thoughts define existence. The Avengers must stop him before the merger completes, and they discover that fighting someone wielding a cosmic cube is nearly impossible because the cube makes the wielder's will reality. Every attack the Avengers launch simply vanishes or turns against them because Thanos wills it so. They only succeed by exploiting Thanos' arrogance. He's so convinced of his superiority that he subconsciously limits the cube's power because he wants to prove he can win fairly. This demonstrates that cosmic cubes are only as powerful as their wielder's imagination and will, and psychological factors can limit even reality-warping weapons. A third demonstration showcases what happens when a cosmic cube gains sentience and becomes a being called Kubik. The transformed cube, now self-aware, no longer needs a wielder and instead acts according to its own developing consciousness. Kubik's power is demonstrated when it casually restructures entire solar systems to observe how life develops under different conditions, treating reality manipulation as an experiment rather than a weapon. The comic shows Kubik creating and destroying pocket universes to test theories about existence, demonstrating that a cosmic cube with full agency is essentially a god with the power to create and destroy reality according to whim. However, Kubik also develops morality and restraint, choosing not to use its full power because it understands the responsibility that comes with reality warping capability. This evolution shows that cosmic cubes represent power so absolute that they can transcend being weapons and become cosmic entities themselves, making them dangerous not just for what they can do, but for what they might become if they gain independence from their wielders. Level 5. The Reality Warpers. The Infinity Gauntlet. The Infinity Gauntlet is a golden glove designed to hold and channel the power of all 6 Infinity Stones simultaneously, creating the most powerful weapon ever to exist in Marvel Comics. The stones themselves are the remnants of 6 cosmic entities that existed before the universe's creation. When the universe was born, these entities were condensed into 6 gems representing fundamental aspects of existence. The Space Stone, blue, controlling location and teleportation; the Mind Stone, yellow, granting telepathy and mental manipulation; the Reality Stone, red, altering the nature of reality itself; the Power Stone, purple, providing unlimited energy and strength; the Time Stone, green, controlling temporal flow; and the Soul Stone, orange, manipulating life force and spirits. When all 6 stones are combined in the Gauntlet, the wielder gains complete control over every aspect of existence. They become essentially omnipotent, able to alter reality at universal scales with a thought or snap of their fingers. The Gauntlet's powers include manipulating all matter and energy, controlling time across all dimensions, rewriting reality's fundamental laws, commanding all souls in existence, accessing infinite power, and most terrifyingly, the ability to will half of all life in the universe out of existence instantly, which is exactly what Thanos does. The Infinity Gauntlet appears in the massive 1991 storyline, The Infinity Gauntlet, written by Jim Starlin, which sees Thanos collect all 6 stones and use them to kill half of all life to impress Death herself. This storyline became the foundation for the MCU's Infinity Saga. The Gauntlet appears in follow-up stories including Infinity War, 1992, where Magus, Adam Warlock's evil future self, seeks the Gauntlet, and Infinity Crusade, 1993, completing the trilogy. More recently, Infinity, 2013, by Jonathan Hickman, explores the stone's power, and Infinity Wars, 2018, shows what happens when multiple people fight over the reassembled Gauntlet. Each appearance reinforces that the Infinity Gauntlet represents ultimate power. Whoever controls all 6 stones controls existence itself, making every storyline featuring it about preventing that power from falling into the wrong hands. The most iconic use of the Infinity Gauntlet occurs in the original 1991 storyline, when Thanos, having assembled all 6 stones, uses the Gauntlet to kill half of all sentient life in the universe with a single snap of his finger. The comic depicts this moment across multiple panels, showing heroes across Earth and throughout space simply ceasing to exist. They don't die violently. They simply turn to dust and blow away as reality rewrites them out of existence. Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and countless others simply vanish as the Gauntlet's power extends across the entire universe simultaneously, erasing trillions of beings from existence in one moment. The scene's horror comes from its simplicity. Thanos doesn't need to fight anyone or use complex magic. He just thinks half of everything should die and snaps, and the Infinity Gauntlet makes it reality. This feat demonstrates that reality warping weapons at this level transcend even cosmic artifacts like the Cosmic Cube, because the Gauntlet doesn't just alter reality in localized areas, it can rewrite the fundamental structure of existence across the entire universe instantly, making it a weapon so powerful that using it is more like being God than wielding a tool. Another demonstration occurs when Thanos, drunk on his godlike power, challenges eternity itself. Eternity is the living embodiment of the universe, an abstract entity representing all space and time, and Thanos uses the Gauntlet to actually fight eternity as an equal. The comic shows Thanos growing to cosmic size, his body becoming as large as galaxies as he uses the Gauntlet's power to match eternity's scale. They battle across dimensional space, with Thanos' Gauntlet-enhanced attacks actually damaging the universe's embodiment. The fight demonstrates that the Infinity Gauntlet grants power sufficient to harm abstract entities that should be beyond physical damage because they're concepts rather than beings. However, the comic also reveals the Gauntlet's limitation. It only works in its native universe. When beings from outside Marvel's universe appear, including the Living Tribunal and eventually the One Above All's Judgment, Thanos discovers that his omnipotence is conditional, bounded by the reality he inhabits. This shows that even reality-warping weapons with near-unlimited power have boundaries defined by the metaphysical laws governing their existence. A third iconic moment occurs when various heroes manage to briefly claim the Gauntlet from Thanos. At different points, Spider-Man, Captain America, and Adam Warlock each wear the Gauntlet temporarily. The comic shows that simply wearing the Gauntlet doesn't grant mastery. Wielding all 6 Infinity Stones simultaneously requires immense willpower and concentration, because the wielder is essentially trying to control 6 fundamental forces of existence at once. When Spider-Man briefly has it, he's overwhelmed by the mental strain and can barely form coherent thoughts, let alone use the stones effectively. When Adam Warlock finally claims it and uses it to undo Thanos' genocide and restore the universe to balance. The strain of using the Gauntlet to manipulate universal forces leaves him exhausted and transformed. The comic makes clear that the Infinity Gauntlet is the most powerful weapon possible within its universe, granting essentially unlimited power. But that power comes with the burden of maintaining concentration to control 6 cosmic forces simultaneously, and the mental toll of using it can break even the strongest wills, making the Gauntlet as dangerous to its wielder as to their enemies. Level 6. The Multiversal Destroyers, the Ultimate Nullifier. The Ultimate Nullifier is a small, handheld device that appears deceptively simple. It looks like a metallic rod or cylinder with no obvious controls or power source. The weapon's origin is mysterious, even by cosmic standards. It was discovered by Galactus in a pocket dimension at the universe's edge and is implied to be a device created by abstract entities, or perhaps a remnant from the universe before the current one. The Ultimate Nullifier's power is absolute erasure. It can completely unmake anything from existence, not just destroying it, but retroactively removing it from all timelines and dimensions, so that the target never existed at all. Unlike weapons that kill or destroy, the Nullifier erases existence itself. Its powers include targeting anything from individuals to entire universes for complete erasure, rewriting reality to close the gap left by the erased target, functioning across dimensions and timelines simultaneously, and most terrifyingly, it has no upper limit on what it can erase. It's theoretically powerful enough to erase abstract concepts, cosmic entities, or even the universe itself. However, the weapon has a deadly cost. If the wielder lacks the willpower to control it, or fails to maintain perfect focus while using it, the Nullifier will erase them along with, or instead of, the intended target, making it a weapon that requires absolute conviction and mental strength to use without being destroyed by it. The Ultimate Nullifier first appeared in Fantastic Four number 50 in 1966, during the original Galactus trilogy, and it has appeared sparingly in comics since because it's so powerful that its presence would solve almost any conflict instantly. The weapon appears in Infinity Gauntlet, where Adam Warlock considers using it against Thanos, in Galactus the Devourer, where its nature and limits are explored more deeply, and in various cosmic-level storylines where threats become so severe that heroes must consider using a weapon capable of erasing existence itself. Each appearance treats the Nullifier with appropriate weight. It's never used casually because its power is so absolute that using it represents giving up on every other possible solution and accepting that something must be unmade from reality entirely. The Ultimate Nullifier's most famous use occurs in the original Galactus trilogy when Reed Richards must threaten Galactus to save Earth. The Fantastic Four travel to Galactus's ship seeking a weapon to fight him, and they discover the Ultimate Nullifier, the one weapon Galactus fears. Reed returns to Earth and points the device at Galactus, threatening to use it. The scene is remarkable for what happens next. Galactus, the world devourer who has destroyed countless planets and fears nothing, actually retreats. He agrees to spare Earth and leave immediately because Reed is holding the Nullifier. The comic makes clear that Galactus isn't afraid of being killed. He's afraid of being erased from existence entirely, of never having existed at all. The weapon's power is demonstrated not through being used, but through Galactus's fear, showing that multiversal destroyers are so powerful that the mere threat of their use can force cosmic entities to surrender. However, the scene also reveals the danger. Reed admits afterward that if Galactus had called his bluff, Reed didn't know if he could actually use the Nullifier without erasing himself, Earth, or potentially much more. Another significant moment occurs in Fantastic Four number 244 when the villain Terminus steals the Ultimate Nullifier and attempts to use it. The comic depicts Terminus activating the device, pointing it at the Fantastic Four to erase them from existence. However, the moment he activates it, Terminus begins to scream as the Nullifier starts erasing him instead. The weapon feeds on the wielder's mental energy, and Terminus lacks the willpower and focus to control it. He's deleted from existence over several panels, his body literally fading from reality as the Nullifier consumes him. What makes this terrifying is that Terminus doesn't just die. Everything he ever was, all impact he had on reality, is being undone. People who died because of him are restored. Events he caused are rewound. And by the time the Nullifier finishes, Terminus never existed in the first place. This demonstrates that the Ultimate Nullifier isn't just a weapon, but a fundamental threat to existence itself, dangerous to both target and wielder, requiring perfect mental discipline to use without being erased by your own weapon. A third demonstration occurs when cosmic entities debate what would happen if the Ultimate Nullifier were used on an abstract entity like death or eternity. The discussion takes place in a cosmic council where beings like the Living Tribunal consider whether the Nullifier could theoretically erase fundamental forces of existence. The conclusion is disturbing. If someone with sufficient willpower used the ultimate Nullifier on death itself, death would cease to exist. Nothing could die anymore. The universe would fill with undying beings until it collapsed under the weight of eternal existence. If used on eternity, the universe's embodiment would be erased, potentially unmaking all of reality. This thought experiment demonstrates that multiversal destroyers like the ultimate Nullifier are weapons that should never be used because their power is so absolute that erasing the wrong target could unmake existence itself. The weapon exists as a deterrent, powerful enough that threatening to use it can stop cosmic threats, but actually using it represents such catastrophic risk that doing so could be worse than whatever threat it's meant to stop. Level 7. The Universal Constants. The Anti-Life Equation. The anti-life equation is not a physical weapon, but rather a mathematical formula, a proof expressed in numbers, symbols, and concepts that, when understood, demonstrates that free will is an illusion, that life has no meaning, and that submission to the equation's holder is the only logical response to existence. The equation's origin is mysterious and varies by continuity, but it's generally described as a fundamental truth about the universe that was discovered rather than created, existing as a metaphysical constant that proves life's meaninglessness. Unlike weapons that destroy or reshape reality, the anti-life equation attacks consciousness itself, removing free will and replacing it with absolute obedience. The equation's powers include controlling all sentient minds that comprehend it, removing free will on universal scales, spreading virally from mind to mind like an infectious truth, overriding even cosmic entities' independence if they're exposed to it, creating absolute obedience where victims know they're being controlled but cannot resist, and most horrifically, making victims grateful for their enslavement because the equation convinces them that freedom was suffering and submission is peace. The anti-life equation is the ultimate weapon because it doesn't just defeat enemies, it makes them willing slaves who thank you for enslaving them, removing resistance at the conceptual level by proving mathematically that resistance is illogical. The anti-life equation appears prominently in Jack Kirby's Fourth World Saga from the early 1970s, where Darkseid's primary goal across all continuities is finding the complete equation. It appears in Final Crisis 2008, where Darkseid successfully obtains and deploys the equation, enslaving most of humanity. The equation is central to Seven Soldiers, where pieces of it are revealed. In various continuities, the equation is hidden in humanity's collective unconscious, or pieces of it exist within the genomes of specific humans, or it's a formula that must be spoken aloud to activate. Each appearance treats the equation as the ultimate goal. Darkseid seeks it above all else because possessing the complete anti-life equation would make him the absolute ruler of existence, with every conscious being becoming his willing slave, who cannot even conceive of rebelling. The anti-life equation's most devastating use occurs in Final Crisis, when Darkseid finally obtains the complete formula and broadcasts it to Earth through the internet and telecommunication. The comic shows the equation spreading like a virus. People watching television or using computers are suddenly exposed to mathematical proof that life is meaningless, and Darkseid represents order in chaos. The scene shows heroes falling one by one as they're exposed to the equation. Wonder Woman becomes one of Darkseid's furies. Superman resists but is weakened by watching his world enslaved. And Earth becomes a literal hell, where humans serve Darkseid with smiles on their faces because the equation has convinced them that slavery is freedom. This demonstrates that universal constants like the anti-life equation are weapons that attack at metaphysical level, making them more dangerous than any physical weapon because they don't destroy, they corrupt the very concept of free will. Another significant moment occurs when Mr. Miracle, one of the new gods, is exposed to the anti-life equation and must resist its effects through sheer force of will. The comic depicts his internal struggle as the equation tries to prove that his life is meaningless, that his escape from Darkseid's torture pits was ultimately pointless, because he's still trapped in existence that has no inherent value. Mr. Miracle, the universe's greatest escape artist, realizes that the equation is a trap that cannot be escaped through clever thinking or physical skill. It's a philosophical attack that can only be resisted by choosing to believe in life's meaning despite the equation's proof to the contrary. He resists by essentially choosing hope over logic, embracing the illogical position that life matters despite mathematical proof that it doesn't. This struggle demonstrates that the anti-life equation can theoretically be resisted, but doing so requires rejecting logic itself, making resistance effectively impossible for anyone who values rational thought over faith in existence's inherent worth. The most disturbing aspect of the anti-life equation is explored when Superman asks Metron, a new god who knows the equation, why it's so dangerous if it's just a formula. Metron explains that the equation isn't dangerous because it forces people to serve. It's dangerous because it's true. The anti-life equation is a genuine mathematical proof that free will is an illusion, that all choices are predetermined by causality, and that meaning is a fiction conscious beings tell themselves to cope with meaningless existence. When someone understands the equation, they're not being mind-controlled. They're seeing truth so fundamental that it shatters their ability to maintain the delusion of free will. They serve Darkseid willingly because the equation proves that serving him is no different than any other action in a deterministic universe, so they might as well serve the strongest force they encounter. This makes the anti-life equation the ultimate weapon because it's not really a weapon at all, it's truth weapon, a philosophy transformed into a contagious proof that destroys the concept of resistance itself by demonstrating that resistance, like all actions, is ultimately meaningless.